The 1993 Honda Del Sol Si, the second of 20 Hondas I've owned in my life. I traded my first Honda, a 1987 CRX Si, in for the Del Sol used with only 6,000 miles on it. The thing was still brand new. Based on the 5th generation Civic, many people didn't realize the Del Sol is the 3rd generation CRX. Marketed so in every country except the United States, where just the Civic sticker was kept on the back. This was controversial for some people, especially previous CRX owners who made up silly reasons as to why it was not, and I'll talk about that later. The Del Sol Si packed the brand new first appearance of a Honda D16Z6 1.6-liter single overhead cam VTEC engine in the United States, sharing it with the Civic Si. This engine has 125 horsepower and 106 torque and redlined at 7,200 RPM. It ran a 0 to 60 in 8.4 and a quarter mile in 16.1 seconds. Now, in my last video, I spoke about the weight of my 97 CRX Si being 1,900 pounds, and that the Del Sol Si at this point was already up to 2,400 pounds. This is what killed the previous CRXs, as the new government crash mandate technologies were already dramatically increasing weight. You name it, airbags have massive safety structures which made up the bulk of this weight, not bloat. The previous generation Civic chassis would not handle this, so Honda had to make large changes to the Civic platform. But as you can see, Honda compensated with engine power and was able to maintain similar performance numbers. Both cars were still making every other car in their class at the time look silly. Now let's talk about VTEC. Why? Because Honda was made by VTEC. Most don't realize that yes, Honda makes cars, but it is actually primarily an engine company. Honda was and still is the world's largest manufacturer of internal combustion engines, making arguably the most advanced engines now for decades. VTEC is simply a cheat by lifting cams at high RPMs to open the engine's power up. This allowed the engine to run very fuel efficient in normal driving, and when VTEC kicked in, shifted into high performance mode. For the single overhead cam VTEC models, this was minor compared to the new dual overhead cam versions that were out 1 year earlier on the Acura GSR. These 4-cylinder Honda engines in the early 90s dominated any engine in their class by far. Stock for stock, these little dual overhead cam VTEC cars could accelerate and handle better than a car like a 4.8-liter Mustang GT of the time, having dual wishbone suspension. This led to a lot of jealousy and memes having existed ever since. However, consider the fact that within 10 years, every single manufacturer had copied Honda with a variant of VTEC. That fact obviously tells you the story of how good VTEC was. Alright, back to the Del Sol. I did love this Del Sol even though I only had it for a year, and I modified it a little bit. These are the actual images of my Del Sol before the days of digital cameras. I snapped these from a video I took of the car with a Sony camcorder. ChatGPT cleaned them up perfectly and brought out the true color as it would have looked in that day. I am embarrassed at the first wheel choices I picked in the 1993, but 16-inch wheels on Hondas back then were unheard of and I gave it a shot, but it wasn't great. I never was quite happy with the wheels, but the good thing is in less than a year I lost them and got my hands on a good set of 15-inch rims, which were much better for the Del Sol. This is a story for my next video. I really like this car. The target top design was amazing, and as a 20-year-old I shredded the car for a good year. I did feel like it was a step down from my CRX in performance, just a lot softer. This is an actual Excel spreadsheet I created tracking how many miles I put on the car. Gas was only $1.39 a gallon and I got over 30 miles per gallon. Awesome for 1993. Yet still, I did get into a lot of trouble with the popo. This is a picture of me in this Del Sol. It's a long story. I'll leave it up to your imagination. In the end, I did solve the 1993 Del Sol Si softness issue quickly, and I'll talk about that in the next videos. Stick around.